So like the different right now, as well, like Killua right now, remembering like the teachings of the father Killua of like showing off like this techniques before knowing that the complexity of the door being able to break being able to thing like I'm remembering that exactly that what I'm going to like want to feel that wants like nails side I'm going to bring that in the main exams to that they will to get the chance to break like the real life game that for that exam which will be monitored by Tzesugera like I'm looking in that exam like I'm looking definitely go on making that absolute mistake of like you showing off with that technique before that way like the way start itself of like that battle exam battle of gone it's like which would be definitely bring it to be more likely against like with the most likely against like kind of remember like same scenario like at the different so like I'm looking maybe of that not positive like maybe that I want fights maybe being against like Robin and that kind of remote for into that episode. I'm looking it could be really uh, 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 definitely need to see like a paragraph for against so that one would be that fighting off in that exams. It's like the scenario that I was doing. And in that exam, like I'm running at the very beginning of the going like maybe showing off his techniques and I'm looking that only ending up causing an extreme disadvantage to form is like that bad initially is like the scenario that I'm going yet like I'm going to like on eventually pulling through with like still figuring out a way to like still overpower his like opponent usually like kind of overpower and that's one that way overpowering and defeating that a fan improvement of that actually happening in like these like upcoming season to get the chance to play the clear and the selection scenarios that I'm looking and I'm definitely also putting in that in the case of the Killua as well definitely putting in that Killua as well to see that in that exam to be facing off pointedly against like a fan improvement it's like the scenario that I was and I was like Killua well into the that's only wanting to say that even with like Killua doing all things still like I'm doing this kind of program members will be like found in the each one. So like I'm looking at Killua well having to like struggle its way to like being able to like in video of and defeat that kind of program but like in that example like the scenario that I'm doing and also my good prediction were like the current levels of power of that when compared comparing with like John and Killua, like the current levels of power, definitely one of the generations were like Gon would be that stronger than Killua. It's definitely one of the generations. After like unlocking that Gon, like strategical way of like increasing power, using the hero power and like the tank and like the zip to using all that together, like I'm looking at once Gon figured that out, like I'm looking like even though Killua's like a case of electric technique, like I'm looking right now, like that whole don't like current level of strength would have just like to a certain tiny extent would have only surpassed that into that current level of strength. It's definitely my working very aspiration right now. So the problem like Silvan shockingly finding that out and lack of me having that realization while witnessing Bond's like performance in like the upcoming exams is like the scenarios that I'm looking at like I'm looking at seeing Bond's performance and like seeing that even though Bond will be struggling like I'm looking like Bond initially by the time going to be repeating that opponent who be like but like seeing that like I'm even to at that point come to that so kind of like a realization that like the enhanced protocol has like finally surpassed even Killua. It's like the scenario that I'm looking and it will be of like through that such a realization that I'm looking like Killua and God you see that eventually entering into like the career writing game. It is like the into scenario that I was very leaning more towards like the positivity of like such a scenario where like in like the upcoming exams we play like the career writing game in that exam that like setting them into preparation for like and like feeling like the high possibility of like was born as well as Killua pointedly ending up having to face off against like Spanish Roseman or that part of like the battle in that exam. It's like the high probable chance of like a possibility that I'm looking at. And like the remote possibility that I'm looking is for like Ron and Killua to get their ultimate shot once they will be entering and entering into that exams where like I'm looking the into scenario ending up being like Gon and Killua having to that as part of like the qualification exams, like Gon and Killua having to like face off against each other. That's like a remote possibility of like a scenario that I'm right. And if that's the case, then I'm also bring back that again. That definitely if that's the case, then I'm also definitely it will be like long gone, but it will be Killua that will be uh like going through the struggle of like basically having to like emotions and this like friendship towards that bond getting in the way of that Killua being able to like bring out this like hope fight. Is like the scenario that I'm going and that way like I'm Killua initially holding back on his like hope fight and bond totally would be that Gon would be like not having that hesitation. That Gon would be able to like professionally see that as like the battle and all that's like a scenario that I'm going to go like I'm going to go on multiple times like trying to like convince Killua to like basically to use to see that as just a battle and basically to bring out Killua's like full strike. And like gone on the different that even telling Killua that basically something along the lines of like if Gon wants to like survive in like the career running game and wants to like be able to like find his father thing within like the career running game, then Gon would be have Gon would should right now be able to like would have to like survive Killua and be able to like defeat Killua. It Gon should be able to like at least like I think it goes you think would be along the lines and Gon would be telling Killua. So like I'm even Gon at that point telling Killua that like if Nick wants to be able to know that like Killua needs to fight Gon at his like first fight. So like I'm going to like usually that I'm going to like doing these scenarios like finally Killua ending up finally come to that state of mind where like at that point like no more like that the emotion of conflict getting in like the way of like Killua fighting at least like first point. So like that way like I'm looking at that point like Killua finally bringing out his first fight and at that point I was initially Gon is struggling against like Killua's like more release like yet like I'm feeling like in big one struggling his way into that eventually that probably outsmarting. Like definitely I'm bring that to probably be an outsmarting point. Like Silva getting outsmarted by Gon, using that by Gon like instantly coming up with some sort of like an extremely unpredictable strategy. That which like even Killua won't be able to like at all see come. It's like the scenario that I look at. With that, like I'm then Gon probably outsmarting that, eventually finally outsmarting Killua and that probably or for defeating Killua is like kind of like a remote possibility that Embers is already away to happen either right now during like the upcoming exams for to play like a clear game or like I'm definitely still Embers and like there to be like a dawn with is up right happening. If not right now, then I'm thinking that it would be in like first stage or even if it's in like first stage I'm probably searching for like an eventual one was still up right happening. Definitely my possibility. I think this like definitely one would be like the because definitely one of the right like the feeling of the version right now as for like right now while this like this guy is like walking through an empty scene city like they're playing this like girl that's on like the cover of like the Great Island game like this in like the background like and that most likely this would be like most likely a scene for happening within like the Great Island game. It's definitely another thing. And then but like that girl might be like a boss like of like or like an exceptionally strong player that would be like playing like the Great Island game an exceptionally strong pro hunter that she might have made it to becoming like an exceptionally strong pro hunter even at like such a young age and I was we might be also playing like the real game is like the positive as like a player it's also like the positive that I'm doing and so like I'm shooting right now with that that girl being in like the background of like the mysterious guy like I'm looking right now that girl might have taken the life of that mysterious guy right now instead of looking at that girl will be that face strong stuff near better and that's like the highly likely possibility that I'm considering, and like the least likely possibility that I'm considering is for like that seems to be like a scene that might have happened while that mysterious guy might have been on his way towards like towards attending like the exam to play like the real island game. It's like the remote possibility that I'm considering. So like I'm looking at to probably get rid of like too quickly as soon as possible for her to like for like quickly for like the exams to be over and so her that girl to quickly play and then trying to like the career and game maybe like it might have been like her as well that girl as well might have been on her way to like attend like the exam to participate in like the exam to play the career running game. So like I'm looking on her way, like she might have seen that in this guy and she might have instantly been able to like sense using her like exceptional and the she might have been instantly able to like sense that she's on this like way. So he's also like a participant of like the exam. So like I'm looking that he's on his way to like attend the exam. So like I'm looking for her to like have like the competition get over as quickly as possible and so that way she could like enter into like the career running game. Uh, that much faster, like maybe like to get rid of like the competition, like as much as she can, maybe like she might have right now, while on her way to like the exams of like the grade, and again she might have taken the life of that mysterious guy. Might have been what might have happened is like the possibility that I'm looking right now in my frame. And if that's the case, then my personal impression is that like since that girl is on like the cover of the degree, right? Like I'm going to bring that within scenario to be like not only gone as well as figure that would be like winning and qualifying in that exam, winning like the battles in that exam and qualifying to play like the degree right again, but also that girl as well to be like winning that exam and qualifying along with like Ron and Killua. So like I'm looking like Ron, Killua and that girl, being like the only three winners that will be that winning and qualifying, winning that exam tournament, like kind of like an exam maybe, and that those three alone that winning the exams and that being qualified to that and get selected by that and Tzesugera to that place that the career writing game. This like the initial possible other possible scenario that is about the brain of the realm. So that the feeling of the infection right now as for like the career and player selection exam like I'm looking like that there only being like a single spot for us like from like the six sets that of the career and game that like that one of spot from the doctor like I'm looking definitely that single spot I'm looking like once like the expensive over like it will be precisely straight away getting taken by that girl participant is like the scenario that I think. That girl would definitely be a participant for like this exams and then like it will be her that I'm also suffering would be performing even better than Killua as well as Bong in this like current exams like the scenario that I did. So like I'm looking like it will be her even though I'm looking like Gon as well as Killua like totally defeating their opponents as well in this like slab selection exam like I'm looking like it would be her performance that I'm looking like uh, would be like considered as like even exceptionally better than like even Killua and Gon's performance. Battle performance is like the scenario in the scenario that way like I'm looking like that and Barbara like so, and Sophia are basically selecting her to be like the as like that single player that's like have Sophia and is like selected for to play to get the chance to play like the career against like the scenario set up. So since it's right now revealed that like about like that one set of the career writing game getting stolen like I'm looking like that single set of the career writing game is like things and like lot of and remember had stolen like I'm looking like definitely that was happening it's like I'm looking like once like in the scenario to be like even though gone as well as skill I'm looking will be defeating their opponents in this like that like some like I'm looking like that the scenario to be that either getting selected and that way at that point like Conan, Conan especially Gon would be like so extremely shocked and would be extremely disappointed and think that he has lost his ultimate chance to like really to enter and play like the real game. Along the lines, Gon and Killua would be singing, but like I'm looking like it could be at that point that I'm looking like that this could be happening with like Tzesugera secretly Badra like sending Tzesugera and like Tzesugera most likely telling Gon and Killua to like meet Badra at that point, and I'm looking like but at that point, like congratulating like Ron and Kilo of that performance in that extent. And I was make it to be at that point that Ron and Kilo would be getting like the so this of like a surprise reveal. So like Tzesugera like pulling out one of like the set of like the career island game. Then which would be like the seventh set of like the career island game which had gotten stolen. Like I was by then like Tzesugera might since like Tzesugera is like the person monitoring that exam like Tzesugera would be teaching from. So like I'm thinking like Tzesugera and as specific remember to mention that like since like Tzesugera have that health like pointy ears like I'm thinking like Tzesugera would be like a Kiriko feature in like the disguise as like a human. That's definitely not the same. So definitely I was looking like Tzesugera would be exceptionally strong and I was looking like Tzesugera might have gotten back like that career island game. It's definitely what by then it's definitely not the same. So like that would be the surprise for like Gon and Killua and that in that along with that seven set of like the running game that comes in that on top on the super like then also having like a memory card as well. It's definitely a single memory card as well as the new so like I'm like gone probably using like the memory card from like the green box that of like the clear save data like the green box like I'm looking like gone totally using that save data for like gone to be able to play like the real running game and I'm like in that seven set like I'm even gone into the playing and gone will be playing using his like memory card from like the green clear memory card from like the green box by while like Killua also like will be given a memory card by like Tzesugera according to like the decision of like that price like the scenario that I'm like that would be like the surprise twist like a shock for like going to like the scenario that I'm So like, and I was like the memory card keyboard would be like an empty memory card and not a clear memory card like in Bond's case. So like I'm looking like Killua using that memory card. And I was wondering the reason like I'm wondering that Ra would be telling Killua and Bond would be that like he was like so extremely impressed with like even though like that girl's like performance was like far better than Bonnie Killua's performance, still he was like shocked and surprised by the exceptional and just such a within such a short span of days time, like between like exceptional and spring growth and strength of like Killua and Gon and the performance they displayed with that absolute strength in like the exams like that like that I will be telling Gon and Killua that like basically he has decided to like basically allow Gon and Killua as well to like play the career riding game. Because like he places that absolute hope in like Gon and Killua being able to like survive in like the world of like in the extremely dangerous and difficult world of the career riding game. Things like Gon and Killua is able to like throw in strength and skills in such a short span of time. Get on the range Batra would be telling Gon and Killua and like Batra that way giving Gon and Killua like the allowing Gon and Killua as well. Along with that, like I'm looking that way, Gon and Killua as well like entering into like the world of like the career running game is like there is a scenario that I'm looking for and my preparation. And then still in the my percentage and question that like Jake Sally will be most likely King father, born grandpa. And then still remember mention that like Jake Sally will be like the person that might have created like the career running game. And also my secondary impression right now is that that Jake Sally that I'm like Tzesugera that Tzesugera and the friend would might have been most likely like the student of like Tzesugera in like the past like in that sense in past like I was in Tzesugera might have been like the one of like the best students of like Jade Sally. It's also like name of the three. The name of the three ambition right now would be like among like the fan of was with like Prince as well as Fate and like already playing like and within like the career dining game and basically like my other impressions were like the fact that like that was like spending out so much money to like buy each and every copy of the career dining game and the fact that photograph like that was like top man just like exceptionally pro hunter and everything like I'm looking at definitely neither bad run nor for like neither background or like Tzesugera like getting back like the single stone set of like create island games would be even that are remotely hard task at all. Definitely remember prevention after like they will be able to of like the mindset that like they will be able to like get back with that single stone set of like the create island game at any time they want. Definitely remember it. So like I'm maybe like either I'm like maybe background might have sent out like um 2 or 3 of like other uh, team members like just like subordinates like maybe it would be like subordinates of like to the like I'm looking like the men that in like that are team that is working for background that are like the second most strongest staff of like to the might have already left to like basically get back that stolen copy of the game that like Pink and Peyton had stolen. It's like one possible scenario that I'm looking, or like I'm thinking like it, with scenario maybe being that after like the exams will be current exams will be over. I'm looking at the Tigapa himself like casually going up, uh, actually easily like using his like extreme experience and as like a pro hunter and everything like him easily like locating where like the stolen Syrian and game is and I'm like easily like Tzesugera totally that forcefully like retrieving back to Syrian and game is like in which like Peyton as well as like in which like Peyton as well as like things into stepping in the parents when again the specific my version to be in that very like seventh set of like Syrian and game that I'm looking like eventually going until all the entering into the Syrian and game into which definitely my membership. So right before and I'm sitting there and mentioned that like eventually right before gone and she don't be entering and I'm just like it would be like the non power of like the girl but amongst she would be like unleashing her non power that would be like the only non power that would be like even being able to like impress Tzesugera at that point is like the scenario that everybody has. So like among all the other participants like I'm like they're non-power each and every single one of their non-power that they will be displaying it like I'm going to being totally uninterested. So the round of the mechanism being only interested. So like the a display of non-powers of like that show along with like the scenario that I'm looking at. Have straight away getting selected up with like the scenario that I'm looking at. I'm looking maybe at that point like Tzesugera might be about to leave like Ambulance, possibly maybe being at that point that everything like after like Parthenoda, that like the whole connection with like Parthenoda as well as Rogan's death and like their death connected to like the chain of that Topic and everything. And then definitely putting like definitely like in that even though like I'm definitely putting like the thing that I was going to mention that like during Rogan's like final moments of that like Rogan might have had that absolute right before Topic had taken Rogan's life, like Rogan might have had that absolute intent villainous kind of intent towards like Torapiga and might have decided for like the destruction of like Torapiga at the moment of Rogan had died, and that might be like the reason for like Torapiga right now going through all these struggles on top of like Torapiga herself like breaking her and condition of like maintaining a peace of mind uh, and all that. Like, and that's the information that like the current situation of Torapiga will be totally Torapiga slowly and slowly like losing her eyesight and like Torapiga will be like right now going through a situation but like Torapiga will be slowly turning more and more blind each day. Especially I think Torapiga will be like consumed by like the full darkness and will be ending up fully blind, which is like the scenario that I'm like so definitely yet like I'm looking like yet like I'm looking like in the case of like Parthenoda right before Parthenoda such like I'm looking Parthenoda might have had that like absolute genuine good intent of that desire towards that because like Parthenoda might have been easily overwhelmed by like that and shocked and like had that whole change of mind of like towards like the changes of like Kurapika as well as like Gon and Killua after like witnessing their absolute fun and like their absolute bond of like friendship and loyalty between each other. Between that like Parthenoda might have failed because of that like I'm going Parthenoda right before he ended up dying like Parthenoda final desire might have been for like Kurapika instead of Gon and Killua to like have a search in like their strength for them to be strong so that like definitely Barcelona will be Napoli will be hoping for expecting for like the remaining fans of members to like fight to get their revenge on like the same user and like John and Killua in like, the future. So definitely at that point for like Killua as well as John as well as like Gorapika the same user to be able to like protect themselves like for that like basically Barcelona fight before her that my job is that for them to like have to get a lot stronger. So like I'm learning that dying wish of Pantanoda and Berserker like finally that becomes a reality and would be turning into a reality right now. It's like the scenario that I'm looking while like after like the monitoring while like Tzesugera will be like an unimpressed Tzesugera will be selecting only that girl uh, and like Tzesugera would be like about to leave like at that point I was like Pantanoda so that dying wish like totally becoming a reality and like at that point like Gon and Killua at that point getting that as well unexpected for extreme surge in like their manpowers. And at that point, I was like gone for like quickly calling out for like Tzesugera. And I was like, while Tzesugera will be turning back, like Tzesugera would be shocked by the instant, sharp, extreme sharp increase in like the numbers of Gon and Killua, which they will be displaying at that point in front of like in front of like Tzesugera at that point. It's like the scenario that I'm giving. And that will totally shock Tzesugera as well as like the remaining participants something like extreme to figure intensity of like the men powers of like that gone into that point will be displaying solely due to like passing out of like dying this is like the scenario that I'm doing and that understanding will be like definitely a main factor that is everything like it really must will be happening which will be changing like Tzesugera's mind and Tzesugera deciding to like basically even though by then like Tzesugera would have also be selected that as like that single player to play like the great running game like Ambrose and by then like Tzesugera would be also might have gotten back like the seventh set of like the great running game is selected Tzesugera might have according to like that as decision like Tzesugera might have kept it up from like the remaining uh, some like the remaining participants so that like the participants will be like totally pushing themselves for that single spot to play this career game. It's like what might have they might have done so for the team of so like I'm also at that point like I'm looking at Tzesugera and that right like really being so impressed with like Gon and Silva and like them totally taking the decision to like allow Gon and Silva play the career game using like the last seven set of like security writing game. This would mean that better sports in that point is like in scenario that I'm able to play. And I'm also going maybe for like through such a manner would be how that I'm assuming that maybe one to do I would be able to like really end up playing the career again. It's like building scenarios that I'm bring another thing. Like the new 3% right now, as for like Tzesugera right now, reading the exam would be 10 to once like 32 among like the participants would be like passing like this. And like after putting so like I'm bring back among like the six like set of like the career writing game that has been revealed to be that be with like I'm like there will be 32 slots and like 32 memory cards like would be like that empty memory cards would be with like that so like there would be like 32 slots left in total among like since like each of like each among like the six set like each set would be like each set just like the career running game would be having that 8 slots that empty 8 slots like I'm like not each set might be having like full empty 8 slots to like insert 8 memory cards, but like I'm going in total like the remaining slots for like the memory card uh among like the six sets right now would be just would be 32 stuff minimum chance the remaining slots might be filled the browser like about into that and so like there may be other players already playing the period and again game and it won't be just like Jay Sally alone, including like King and there will be like others as well playing like the real dining game. So definitely one of the ambitions that like in the exam of like this we displaying when to like the Tzesugera like I'm definitely gone with the like single term into like in Tzesugera, but like I'm sitting the information that like definitely among like the initial 32 that would be passing. Like the exam like I'm definitely gone as well as like Killua won't be processed. You know, right? They have gone as well as Killua totally failed and their attempt to like display their rent powers and their healing powers that Tzesugera like definitely I'm looking like Tzesugera totally being unimpressed by like the intensity of like the rent powers of born and it was like the scenario that I think that way like all 32 of like the candidates are getting selected and like with like neither gone nor Hindua and not ending up being in that initial 32 is like the scenario that I'm looking like so like I'm looking like gone and Hindua at that point thing after like they have lost their chance to like play it to the but like I was saying, like at that point, like the whole thing with the Cartoon happening, and this at that point, like Gon and Killua would be like displaying like their the increase in their friend powers, and at that point, only at that point, like I'm looking at the Silver, I would be interested and like I would be revealing that like there's like the seven that sets of like the running game that has been sold have been brought back and allowing Gon and Killua to play like the running game at that point is like the scenario that I'm looking at. And I'm looking like extremely luckily for Gon and Killua. I'm looking like in that seventh set, like I'm looking there will be only two empty memory card slots remaining. So like that way, like it's only due to like that absolute sheer like for like Gon and Killua, I'm looking like them being able to and that there will be that single pair memory card as well final one more pair memory card as well, like so to the right, like the scenario that way not only gone using like the memory card of like that game left for gone as well as like that using that single memory card into as well, being able like and translate it to the against like the scenario that's thinking on. So like the kilometer temperature right now as for like one of like the exam candidate like in white Killua is like totally confused as to like white that the like exam candidates that have attempted like exams like are not present out of like the conference like I'm going so for that reason might be like due to like the majority of them was probably having died due to like the intense rent rent on like manpowers of like Tzesugera that you know the so like my representation that like actually affect the situation would be like behind that curtain where like the exams like taking place like I'm wondering what might be like the case might be like Tzesugera would be like standing at like the far end of like that area behind like the curtains and then like the task would be like for each of the participants to be able to like walk up to and make it up to like Tzesugera. It's like scenario that I'm looking at. And like the difficulty would be like Tzesugera would be unleashing his like a certain portion of his like men powers, which would be like around like the equal levels of men powers that like the create island game itself would be having. So like I'm looking for like a person to enter like the Great Island game and to not have that levels of like rent powers to be able to keep them rent of land power to keep them protected against that level of intensity of like land power of that of like the Sugera. If like a person can survive that like like that person like because like I'm by default itself like I'm like the moment like anyone like a person enters into like the retailing game that levels of intensity of like levels of like men or I would be present all throughout like the grade and games definitely when the brain. So like I mean like if that a person is not able to like handle that levels of like intensity of like an power, that would be like coming rushing towards them like like then like like they won't be able to like they might like end up dying like the moment they are getting like the grade and game itself due to like the attack of like the Nen or surrounding that. It's like my personal reaction. So like this might be the reason for like the sports test that like and like Tzesugera is doing right now is definitely one of the so like Tzesugera right now will be unleashing his Nen power to be Nen power or and like will be filling that room area behind the curtain with that whole Nen power of Tzesugera where like like the more like the candidate have to like get closer towards like walking towards like Tzesugera like the more the intensity of like Tzesugera's Nen that like that Tzesugera would have unleashed in that area would be like intensified and increasing like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like definitely that so like that might be like the task. So like basically for each of like the candidates to like protect themselves using their friends or like manpower and basically to be able to like walk up to and make it up towards like where the figure out what this candidate to be like the task is minimum favorites. So like I'm looking like with that so like I'm looking like that exam candidate like basically right now laughing from like the see like I'm looking like who like his laugh would be due to like him already in like the previous year might have totally attempted this very same exam and he might have only failed the Stephanie memorization. So he might have been like totally gotten crushed by like the extreme the intensity of like the name or of like the Tzesugera. But like still luckily he might have barely managed to like survive. But like with like extreme injuries might have been what might have happened to Stephanie memorization. So like he might have totally failed the exam and might have totally failed the exam, but like still he might have survived and like I'm looking like for like the past whole year, like he might have trained extra hard for like this day of this moment for him to like once again attempt to like basically to pass the exam. Definitely my mistakes. So like I'm looking like this might be the pleasure because like that exam candidate who's laughing who would have already attempted this very tense exam in like the previous year and obviously already knowing of like the extreme difficulty of this exam. And so the professor reason for like him laughing because like he was only expecting like the majority of like the candidates who are like actually walking into that circle to be that's ending up dying just like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like I'm looking like that might be the reason for like that crazy uh like exam candidate like literally laughing right now is definitely not the dream. So the minimum remuneration right now is for like right now as like to do like only considers that to that even after 10 exam candidates entering like that cup and not to like not even a single exam candidate running out of like that cup and like I'm position right now at the very first exam candidate to like exit out of like that cup and would be like that girl candidate like the scenario that I'm considering and that I'm considering would be such an absolute shock for like Killua as like the scenario that I'm in. And while I'm considering like all the remaining candidates, 10 candidates, like while the remaining 9 candidates that might have entered that cup and might have all ended up not being able to like handle like the superior intensity of like the Nentro or like Tzesugera and might have probably gotten crushed and might have even collapsed and ended up dying. But then beneath that cup and on the other side of the cup might have been what might have happened is the beneath my big members. So like I'm looking like uh yet I am learning that girl would be like so especially strong that I'm looking like her totally even like after a while like I'm like without my spirit I'm like her alone like returning out from like that stuff and without any injury or anything but like her smile is like the scenario that I'm living with and that is solely due to like her own mental being like so exceptionally on an exceptional higher levels. Was like the scenario that I'm looking at. And I'm looking like as for like Donald Killua, the moment Donald Killua will be that entering past that stuff and like at that point of like I'm like then totally feeling that absolute intensity of like that immense power of like Tzesugera on the other side of like the stuff and it's like the scenario that I'm in. And from that point on it would be like I'm being such an extremely struggle for like both Gon and Killua to like walk forward and towards like where like on the far end of like that Japan area that like where I was standing is like in the scenario that I'm looking at I'm looking at the new 300% right now with that among the Japan open was looking at things as well as fate and like already playing like and within like the career dining game and basically like my variables is like the fact that like batters like spending out so much money to like buy each and every single copy of that career dining game and the fact that like Tzesugera is like that was like top men and just like expecting pro hunter and everything. Like I'm looking at definitely neither veteran nor for like neither veteran nor Tzesugera like getting back like the single stone set of like Creed Island games would be even better remotely hard task at all. Definitely remember prevention after like they will be able to of like the mindset that like they will be able to like get back with that single stolen set of like the Creed Island game at any time they want. Definitely remember it. So like I'm looking maybe like either I'm looking like maybe veteran might have sent out like um 2 or 3 of like like other um, team members just like subordinates like maybe it would be like subordinates of like Tzesugera like I'm looking like the men that in like battle team that is working for battle that are like the second most strongest staff of like Tzesugera might have already left to like basically get back that stolen copy of the game that Pink and Peyton had stored. It's like one possible scenario that I'm looking, or like I'm thinking like it, one scenario maybe being that after like the exams will be current exams will be over and will be things that Tigaka himself like casually going up, uh, actually easily like using his extreme experience and as like a pro hunter and everything like him easily locating where like the stolen period and game is and I'm going like easily I'm going like Tzesugera totally forcefully retrieving back to period and game. It's like in which Peyton as well as in which Peyton as well as things can do. It's definitely one of the things. But again, I'm just giving my version to be in that very seventh set of like period and game. That I'm also connected into the one until out the entering into the period and game into which definitely one of the so right before and I'm sitting there and thinking that eventually right before gone until will be entering they're right before gone until you will be about to enter insert the memory card and about to enter into the career and again right before that I was most likely to the using one giving an entering to to the maybe and to the totally removing the memory chart of things and right to the I would be about to remove the memory card of Satan, like I'm looking right before that, like I'm looking Satan would be any of the thing is the scenario that I'm looking that way, like I'm looking Satan's body either body either appearing out of the Great Island game, dead body appearing out of the Great Island game, right itself is the highly likely possibility that happening and so there's Tzesugera would be pulling out princess and memory card first I'm looking Conan at that point being a never before seen an extreme influence always has that extreme or confident man of and that's very same prince they really and looking extremely traumatized and yeah that basically such a princess what and that will be appearing out of the redialing game by using the entering composition Tzesugera would be removing the memory card of that princess the scenario that I'm and straight away I'm looking right before Tzesugera they were remove the memory card of the state and state that totally uh, appearing even before Tzesugera we able to do that they and totally appearing into the real world as a dead body. It's the scenario that I'm saying. That being that ultimate shock for Gon and Killua, right before they would be about to enter into the real game. It's everything scenario that I'm the brain is there. About the celebrations that I'm still known to that basically during then I'm within the activity of the situation within the real game might have been just Satan as well as things running into some sort of an extremely dangerous and giant and extremely dangerous and fast monster, scary monster, and then when that monster was sexually offered, and that monster would have taken Satan's life, and actually that monster might have been able to take things life as well at that very last second. Might have been when Tzesugera would be using the memory without realizing and would be removing the memory card of things, and that way things alone barely escaping with his life by the skin of his teeth, by the scenario that I'm going to say. And that being the reason for things being totally extremely traumatized at that point. On top of the extreme scary experience with the video running game and all that seeing his good friend and the fans remember Pete and his thought right there something that or that like a shop of it. Like I'm going to bring like specifically one comment to using it or entering like a great engine second scenario that is beyond the known terrain. So like the new impression to interesting right now as well like the candidate by the name people right now attempting like the exam and entering like the person like I'm looking like definitely about like after a while like I'm looking like the foot would be about the next one and Killua totally witnessing like before like returning back from like the and but like at that point I'm looking like him to be in an extremely badly injured state and would be like struggling to even move. It's like the scenario that I'm doing that way. Like I don't remember it's in definitely something that was might have probably attempted this very same exams like the previous year and might have failed and this year as well. I'm looking like before might have not thrown to the levels of strength that we might have desired. And basically this year as well, I'm looking like supposed to be like losing like this chance at like having like the exams so exams for like selection after the grade and again this like the scenario that I was very new to but in the 3% right now with that Killua about to like attempt like this exam and like as like Killua enters like the target like the flashbacks that Killua was like having like I'm looking like of like Silva training of like Killua I'm looking like that in that training lecture system pass like this like Killua gave Killua like I'm looking like that monster against this like Killua was like fighting against like I'm looking that might have been like the fourth challenge because like that monster might have been a Kiriko like that monster that like Gon had faced off in as part of like his like 300 exam like that like monster Kiriko that is they don't have to like really both steps with like I'm looking like it might have been like that very same monster Kiriko that as part of like the training by which like Silva in like the Silva might have given to the Killua like I'm looking like it might have been like the training to like fight off against like exceptions from Kirikos and to fight and to like eventually offer and defeat that Kiriko or like assassinate Kirikos like the most of Kirikos might have been like that training that like Silva might have given to Killua in like that past is remembering. So like in the flashbacks that monster like that Killua that vaguely remembering like that that's vaguely shown like I'm looking that monster might be like a Kiriko's definitely remembering and I'm looking like this would be a totally a foreshadowing because like I'm looking like that me Tzesugera himself would be definitely absolutely my representation would be definitely the Kiriko and that might be the reason for like Tzesugera having such health like 20 years is definitely my representation. So like I'm looking like so like I'm just bring the league with like Killua right now entering like that home where like Tzesugera is like I'm looking like Tzesugera right now would be able to like send like maybe would be hands of projected manpower that like Tzesugera would be able to like send Henry like the trauma of that Killua maybe to like a great extent. So like I'm looking like Tzesugera like totally seeing that whole training of like maybe of being able to like sense that like kids like that Killua has like some sort of a past against like a past trauma of like fear against like Kiriko. So like I'm looking to the straight away at that point as part of like the test of like exam of the Killua and looking to the at that point itself from within that room like revealing to the true form of like the Kiriko. It's like and turning Tzesugera transforming into like a Kiriko. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at that instantly giving that traumatic kind of like a care kind of like a flashback feeling of Killua, then more towards like the past training of like Killua by Silva and all that like a scenario that I'm looking for it. So that's like giving the scenario that I was so like I'm looking like while Tzesugera would be telling Killua to like basically unleash and show his like a run powers. Like at that point I was like Tzesugera would be in his like actual true Kirito form. It's like doing the scenario that I was doing. And that like seeing like Tzesugera standing right there in front of like Killua in like as like a Kiriko like that first of all would be like an absolute shock for like Killua because like I'm looking Killua like as, it wouldn't just be gone but like Killua as well might have never expected like Tzesugera to actually not be a human but to see like Kiriko in the guys as like humans definitely but like I'm looking like already like even seeing like the Kiriko form of Tzesugera itself would be giving that absolute scare and traumatic kind of like a pressure for like Killua and on top of it and he should be in that pressure that Killua would be having the task to like really bring out his like rent to bring out his like ultimate rent power like the scenario that about so like I'm looking like Killua maybe struggling his way into like bring out a certain extent of his like and powers but like I'm definitely got rent powers but like I'm looking at the Killua totally right now currently I'm looking at Killua would be like totally trading to like impress like Tzesugera and like Killua would be failing the exam right now. It's like the scenario that I'm learning. But like since like put I think like that guy who laughs like this, he has injury about like Batra totally taking back taking consistency like if he finds like better consistency like later on like after that totally would be eventually definitely happening through that gone as well as Killua and Siddhi my mission would be right now like failing in the exam but and like that way that Tzesugera would be unimpressed with like the run power of John and Killua right now. But like I'm looking like before like the exam will be like declare over like I'm looking before that like I'm looking like that whole surge in like run powers and powers of like John and Killua only due to like pattern out of time which like I'm looking happening and that way. It's like given the scenario that I'm looking and to be only at that point that like Tzesugera would be like considering Gon as well as like Killua as like them having passed like the exams like the scenario that is sitting on the resurrection. Like especially not very interesting right now. That's what like the are not only just being impressed but like also being shocked by like the overwhelming strength of like the display of like Killua. So like the very interesting right now is that like they it's like illustrated something like I'm like in Gon's case like I'm thinking like Gon so totally shocked even the killer are even more it's like even more than Killua's like the scenario that I'm doing. Definitely have to like three for something days of training would have totally gone to be a bit even to surpass that of like the left strength of Killua for like the first time. It's like the opportunity for the first time it's definitely one of the favorites. So like I'm saying right now look like it being Gon's turn, like I'm doing that right now on this like once like Gon will be like just playing just like training of like the 4 days like in front of like the Tzesugera and basically right now the like Gon that way displaying is like hardcore power and that will be even more intense than that of like Tigger's powers like the scenario that I'm looking at Tzesugera will be like totally blown away and shocked getting shocked and blown away and to the absolute surprise shocked and blown away that even more than Killua's like performance like he being shocked by Gon's strength was like the scenario it's an performance like the scenario that I'm looking at the thing and it's great. So like the thing I'm doing right now about like the newspaper right now that asking like that part of like that by using half of it like in that portion to like basically by like the grade and getting like certain option like I'm looking definitely that the actuality of the situation that I'm sitting on is definitely that everything that right now would be telling to like the reporter will be totally like about like him being like a jealous person and him wanting to like buy the thing feel out that in actually like I'm like he all background would be doing would be like he would be only keeping his like promise to his like best friend who would be like the creator of like this trading game and that best friend will be like Jade Sally definitely one thing so like it would be most likely Jade Sally's like fortune that basically Jade Sally before entering into like the trading game might have given to his like best friend's bad one and to like spread like the whole popularity of like the running game to like buy all copies of the running game and all that like to do all that with that portion of like Jade Sally might have been like the task that Jade Sally might have assigned to like Batra and on top of that like the most important task that Jade Sally might have assigned Batra might have been to like basically definitely able to like King might have and Jet King might have never known for like the majority of like games like or like Amazon game might have never known that basically Jet Sally is like Kim's father. It's also like a possibility that I'm like maybe and I'm like exactly like how Don got this like green box like I'm just like King as well might have got like a green box back when King was young. This like King might have opened up maybe after like the 100%. Also like a possibility that I'm looking and this like I'm looking like an unclear memory card might have grade and again might have been present and another like a tape as well might have been present where like might have been like the tape containing the voice of Jay Sari telling King that basically King wants to meet his black father then like he should like basically play like with grade and again might be along the lines it might have referred. So like I'm looking like all this the like what the main goal like the main task that like I'm looking Jay Sari might have assigned to that Rabi for Jade Sally entering into like career and game might have been for like and still mention that like it's a reason for like Jade Sally when playing like career and game might have been due to like Jade Sally being so exceptionally strong and about to hunter that basically that the challenges of like the real world challenges and the fight and the danger in like the real world might have not excited like Jade Sally. So like I'm talking Jade Sally using his Nen power, Jade Sally might have created like the Green Island game. And turned it into a game that's like extremely so extremely dangerous and like extremely tough to clear and everything. Might have been what might have happened to the event. So like I'm looking like Jade Sally might have wanted like that feeling of like that certain challenge and excitement in his life. So like I'm looking like since like Jade Sally might have not been able to might have felt that he wasn't able to like get that in like the real world. He might have created like career running game and might have decided to like enter in this and play in like the world of the career running game and have all that excitement and fun with the new experience. So like I'm looking like back then like Jade Sally might have given to like some games when he was like a baby that he might have given his son games to Patra and might have told Patra to like give games to that maybe some like distant to some relative of like this that he might have been what might have happened. So like I'm wondering that might be how that and King even while he was like young even when he was like a child was like in like the same village as that of uh, that were like unnative and had grew up and everything so new present. So like they might have grown up without realizing that like this like Jade Sally is like against father or that like basically Jade Sally like his father's like exceptionally wealthy and all that like they might have grew up without realizing this and I'm wondering that as per like the task that Jade Sally might have assigned Ging assigned back then before entering into like the game game might have been like one of like the main tasks might have been that like if King ever ends up uh, wanting ends up like finding Patra in search of like wanting to like play the career running game to like meet Jade Sally then and only then like Patra should uh, help King with that like might be along the lines of like something that like Sally might have made like that promise to like Sally before Sally might have entered into like career and started playing career and just you know the reason because like I'm looking Sally might have had that guilt. It's like Jane how Jane have like the guilt and regret within him for like not being there for like long until within Sally as well might have had that regret and guilt. So like I'm looking like this might be the reason for like Sally might have totally made like better promise to things to do that and then like that way I'm looking like definitely platform might have played a major role in like games eventually ending up being able to play like career running games like the rather than Korean through like games play through certain like career running game like at some point like he might have already met Jade Sally and might have found out and realized that Jade Sally is like his father like what might have happened to the new and saying so and I'm also for like definitely like so like even right now as like Batra like totally helping Gon as well. Like even though Gon has Gon as well as like Killua has proven to be like qualified and worthy of like playing the green ranking, still like I'm doing like definitely it's Batra of the core in like making it possible for like Gon and Killua to play like to interact into like period and all that would be like huge because like I'm doing like definitely even right now in like like that outwit only putting a fake act. I'm putting maybe a fake positive like that, right? Into the person will be only putting on that I'm just fake act in front of like Gone. That basically as if like Gone is like a as like Batra doesn't know anything about Gone when in actuality like I'm putting the fact that like Batra as well as like Tzesugera knew about like the immense powered ring using with which like this save data could be like removed like basically with like tenant protection can be bypassed or security and again can be bypassed and like the saved data could be removed and basically the fact that like Tzesugera as well as better knows of this belief especially due to that them knowing game as well as state studies definitely I would very impressive and definitely I'm sitting away with mention that it might have been game after like game clearing like the entirety of like the grid island game after like clearing like the entirety of the grid island game might have like came out of the grid island game yet like game might have told that to like see with the secret of that like game had some data like the entirety of like grid island game the secret from that it's also like about the and this might be the reason for like and it might have been then things that might have uh created like the empowering and might have even told better about like him creating exactly like how kind of like in the similar manner to like how like his father did that he had left this like green box for like him to like basically for him to be able to like meet his father if like being wanted to meet his father like King is as well as going to do the same and like King as well after like clearing period and game might have told better that like his he said after going through like the dining game and completing after going through the experience of like the dining game, like maybe for him as well, like the real world might have felt less exciting and fun. So like observing like the thing as well might have told Petra that like he's going to run back to the create and again while Amber and he might have told before doing that like he might have told Petra about like how he's going to like leave this like green box containing this like remembering like after like finishing like remembering he might have so like that's or like found and told Petra about this and that's also like a possibility that I was correct. So like right now in like the present like I'm definitely just like won't even talking about like don't having like the clear memory save like the save data of the grade and again that itself might have been like an instant revelation for like what Tzesugera as well as like better than basically gone is like the son of King Felix is definitely my favorite because like King might have been like the only person that might have been able to get so far clear the career and game but like King might have not wanted like that for popularity and attention and that might be the reason for like King might have told like better to like keep it a secret. Might have been what might have happened. Definitely not very much. Yeah. Students don't make a very much were like the like Fatra using like half of the like option to like basically to buy all the copies of like the career rating game in the current option like I'm looking like it, the actual different situation will be like it won't even be Fatra's fortune but it will be like the fortune that actually belongs to like Jade Sally. It's like Jade Sally like the past like the foreign bring into the career rating game might have given to like Fatra to like for they're trying to that accomplish with for to have that right like fulfill all the desires of like state study and from like that which like state study might have made like that on performance like state study might have been for the academics of human dreams. When the human dreams right now as for like Leorio right now parting ways with like God and Killua and like Leorio thinking of that wants and so called Leorio that Leorio could be a lot for like basically and we are a thing that we better study. Like I'm looking definitely it will be having like even more meaning that like just you are want to like achieve it like goal as like to become a doctor and make money. But like I'm looking right now, like Leorio would be wanting right now, definitely Leorio will be wanting to like be a doctor like more than ever in his life that Leorio might have decided to be a doctor. Like even more than that, Leorio right now the next person will be deciding to be a doctor solely to like save solely so that that way you are only hoping that like that way you are might in like the future will be able to save Torapika if like Leorio ends up becoming like an exceptional lover. Like that will be what like Leorio the ultimate goal in that Leorio's mind right now with his definitely on the selection like saving Torapika because like I'm definitely thinking of my recognition that like due to like that whole change situation and everything like then condition and everything like Torapika that whole situation with like Torapika definitely I'm looking right now. Even Leorio, it's like gone like Leorio as well right now. Would be when I'm fully aware as to like what's happening with Black Korapika. That like definitely I'm sitting there so that like Korapika would be slowly, but like surely I'm also like Korapika would be slowly each day would be Korapika's eyesight would be getting worse and worse, and Korapika would be slowly going going through the process of going blind. It's like might be like the situation that's like right now. With like Korapika's definitely not and Leorio would be when I'm fully aware of that. So also like about to that episode. So like I'm thinking like from Leorio's point of view, like Leorio would be the only thing that basically by the time Leorio would be able to be like Leorio would be having that confidence that he would be able to like to come back and he will study hard and like he will eventually become like an exception doctor and of like that confidence that Leorio would be right now having. But like the other thing that Leorio would be also think that basically would be that like by the time Leorio would be able to like become that exception doctor like Sorapika would have totally ended up becoming blind. It's like also what like Leo would only experience. Leo deep down will be having that absolute sadness within the Leo connecting to that for because like the scenario that I was saying. Yet like I'm doing like Leo only absolutely certain that this will be even in such situation if like Sorapika eventually like even once like Sorapika ends up becoming blind like Leo would be like would be right now with that absolute confidence and determination would be would have totally fixed in his mind to like study with that absolute passion and determination to be such an exceptional dog that basically that he would be able to like he would eventually be able to like save Korapika and like if he once again would be able to like make Korapika see be able to like see get better vision at all costs, like for your to like basically use all like knowledge and all the money that will be making as like a lot of like, do everything in his power to like eventually ensure that like Rafika gets back her vision and is able to like again to with, with, with like the determination and goal to like ensure this happens and like Leora makes this happen and become a reality in like the future like Leora right now would be living with that absolute intent to like basically study hard to be like an exception now. It's definitely my favorite right now. So I'm definitely going to right now is for like kind of what's right now asking that she's going for the to like play the great game with command to reach chance even telling them that they're playing the game not the objective. So the name of the episode that like shall objective would be most likely there might be like some sort of like an extremely valuable like item present within like the career and again the new and this would be what shall would be total after and I'm considering maybe a better property like it my theory is around 10 number maybe of the global would do that like better as well might be after like that specific exact item that would be present within like the career and again that extremely rare and valuable item that which could like fetch that such an exceptional price that might be presented in like this rare island game. Exactly like what like Killua is right now suspecting might be like the game like the possible that I'm keeping and that's the reason to like in the case of the final group members like since like the group fan group itself is like basically group that skills have friend skills like all this rare and like actually valuable items like I'm looking definitely I'm looking Shal might have figured out like about like the Great Island game about like this like extremely rare and valuable items being presented in like the Great Island game that Shal might have heard of it or like find out about it somehow. It's definitely not like I'm looking like through the internet like since like Shal it's like always like open like search like the internet like I'm maybe in like some under website or like somewhere in like the internet like I'm sure Shal might have found out this like crucial information about like their existence is extremely rare and valuable item. The possibility of their existence is extremely rare and valuable item within like career and games, like also like a possibility that I'm looking at. So this might be the reason for like Shell right now wanting like Shizuku as well as like Shizuku also and the photo P to like play the career and game along with Shell. So like I'm looking definitely like the fact that like Phaeton as well as like things was present in like that option in like the main of the option to where like Bonds and as well as Killua had showed up to them by the grade and again uh fact that Peyton as well as Prince was had showed up to that very same option location like I'm looking that might have been also due to like share because it might have been share that might have revealed less critical information of the that ultimate rare and extremely rare item and valuable item present within like the real game that which like way and during that item itself like to be handling might have like the value to like fetch more price than like the collective items that like basically that like the final had stolen from like the first underground of influences like also like about that I'm looking so like I'm looking this such an extremely valuable item. So like Newton Shall might have revealed about this lack of information to that things as well as that Satan. So like I'm thinking that might have been what might have happened in like Muslim. So like I'm thinking like that might be like the reason for like Satan as well as like things showing up to like the building of like the underground option and stealing away like the career rallying game. That's definitely what might have happened. It's definitely one of the breaks. So like I'm thinking like things as well as like things as well as like Satan might have already within like the rallying game and playing like the rallying game would be according to like the select plan of self to basically steal that item from the exceptionally rare and valuable item from like the rallying game and then to like reach the checkpoint and they leave that way so that like they could like exit like the rallying game whenever they want after reaching like the checkpoint. So like this might be like Shell might have checked out all the details of like the current into like the real running it. That might be something like the internet. Shell might have revealed all this to like Peyton as well as like Pink. So like I'm like even after sending them initially Shell might have felt that basically sending them both would be more than enough to like basically to basically have them like quickly like from the school like the grid game and steal that item and like so like I'm maybe like I'm looking at right now Shall might be deep down feelings, maybe kind of like worried for like the possibility of like things like it just like thing as well as like patent and all like maybe like I'm Shall might have felt that basically the positive of like the great reality and things also certainly difficult and dangerous that basically to raise like the to like to basically like provide that reinforcement through like Shell along with like Kotobi as well as like Shizuku like playing like the reality might have been that what like Shell might have felt to use that as good reinforcement to like things as well as patents. So and also to like review that with collective team effort, like they will be able to like get that rare and valuable item and steal it and bring it back before like the other players who are already playing like the Green Dining game will be getting their hands on that item. Like might have been along the line like Shell might have felt, and this might be the reason for like Shell right now trying to like convince like and get like both of it um as she's also like play with the running game. It's definitely my good 10% right now. But minimum 10% right now is like going right now about to enter into like the running game that don't think back on like going journey or think back of like that student of like game that like don't have basically that student with like the long hair that don't have seen like the beginning like the even permission right now so like since that student as well I think was like basically looking at something for king like under the like eventually he might have figured and found out that maybe that like thing is in like the grade and case that you might have found that out somehow, especially my mother. So like I'm going right now as like Fawn and Killua and also are about to enter into like the grade and game like I'm looking like as like Fawn and the Fawn and Killua and all of them will keep competing through like the grade and game and like eventually Fawn and Killua and like as like they would be representing them reaching like some sort of like a tough spot kind of like a situation where like I'm looking maybe against some sort of like an or for monster like I'm looking born and Killua totally struggling uh bring that monster down and I'm looking like as that monster maybe would be about to totally take either gone or I'm looking like as that monster be about to take Bond's life and Killua will be at that point badly injured and won't be able to like save Bond. And I'm looking like at that point I'm looking like the biggest twist of like a shocking surprise happening with like I'm looking like at that point that student of like him with the long hair that don't have seen in like the very beginning in like home village that basically him showing up and basically rescuing and saving bonus like the scenario that and so definitely my difference that that I'm looking at right now that is right now that bonus about to enter into the real dialing game. So I'm remembering that after getting that time gone right now, specifically remembering that student of like Jing with like the long hair will be like only for shadowing to like basically gone eventually as like going to be progressing in the grade and game with like Killua gone and Killua eventually are running into that very same student of King. It's like the scenario that I'm looking and him as well would be like playing like the grade and game in search of King to like find and need King. It's definitely my reference. So yeah. So like the female reimbursement right now as for like the Tzesugera right now thinking into my as to like where exactly want might have got on that like cleared like save game data memory card like a person. So like the female reimbursement right now maybe for like the possibility of like the sugar not even knowing whom King is. So also like the possibility that I'm since like the Tzesugera is like not saying that but like thinking in his mind. It's definitely going to bring it up. But like I'm definitely well, Tzesugera might be totally unaware, but when actually I'm looking that it wouldn't just be King might have totally completed like the entire physical and game and might have returned. It might be like King might be like someone who might have totally completed like the entire of the clear island game, but might have totally guessed it the secret from the rest of the world and might be like might be someone who might have started to like might have felt like staying in like and living in like the world of the clear island game that King might have preferred like the word of secretary dialing game over like the real word. And that would be the total of King into the person being the thing like the career dialing game is the new friend. So like King might not be actually playing like the career dialing game to complete like career dialing game or anything right now. So so like I'm like what the Sigara might be only unaware would be that that feels back from that like King might have only completed like in their of the career dialing game. Definitely I could train because this might be the type of reason for like this where right now the only thing that like absolutely no one would have that progress for that stand like Tzesugera has progressed in like degree and iron games definitely everything like then in actuality I'm looking like it wouldn't just be Ging alone but like I'm looking definitely Jade Sally as well definitely would have totally progressed even further than like Tzesugera within like degree and iron games by now. It's definitely my victory ambition. About which like the figure out bit only unaware of definitely my things. Like the my victory ambition right now is that basically compared to all the other career island. players like playing like career and game like it will be gone alone that will be that right now like entering like career and game while wearing like the net powered ring as well as like having like entering into the career and game with like a save data uh of like a clear and game which would be like which would be like the clear save data of the career and game of like the entirety of like the career and game being completed like being after like completing the entirety of like the career and game and like the path might have put that say, fully completed save data memory containing memory card like into like the green box which like would be right now gone would be inserting into like the green writing game as like the memory card especially memory threads. So like the fact that gone like so like I'm using there would be that special case of like kind of like a situation for gone alone where like gone alone have this like completed fully completed like save data containing memory card as well as gone alone might be having like will be entering into like the word of like the rewriting game you while wearing like the net bordering. So like I'm doing these two special things that gone along would be like having is like the scenario that I'm doing, which like I'm looking like okay, eventually like as like one will be progressing further and further deep into like the rewriting game. Eventually like the simple like I'm looking like in like the rewriting game would be like eventually ending up giving that special advantage kind of like situation would be creating that an eventual piece of special advantage kind of like a situation exclusively and solely for Tornado in like the eventual future, distant future as like Gone and Killua and all of them will be progressing through the creating game. Like I'm thinking like Gone getting such a special kind of like an advantage like compared to like the remaining players of the period. I think it eventually like the future as like going to be progressing deep into like the and like if we subtracting the scenario that I'm building I'm up to like then still remember the intention like that to engineer and to the thing like without them create the engineer and just something that like what I've that is in that getting most of the and the for a can that being client the scenario that I'm doing but like I'm doing that I'm certainly always saying that starting ways with like one and Killua right now. Because the next year will be not only planning on like just studying hard theoretically alone to be alone, but now for one thing that will be that uh, three sides of mentors. That one will be like side of that like the nen is that used for battle purposes, and there will be also the side where like mentors are useful for like healing purposes. This might have been what like much might have been like the type of that manpower that Matthew might have used all the way back in like the Heaven's Arena while Hisoka was injured after one of like his fights in that Heaven's Arena as to like how I think like Matthew had treated Hisoka which I think like the armband and might have been through like that feeling side of it the mental stability of it. So like I'm thinking that things like Leo really don't have an found like the second hunter section of like the net and the like and the like definitely right now with that Leo is parting ways with that Monaco was straight away let Leo the first thing I'm thinking maybe you are will be doing would be that taking up that second hunter's exam of like the NEN exam and then the like Leo would be totally focusing on like I'm doing like Leo will be totally telling just that what up to like that he wants to like totally focus on enhancing his like and then power to that we are like the focal point of like is like enhancement to be like that of healing than badly. If you along the lines of like you're telling you with that for the that the scenario that I'm doing that way like I'm doing that the Oreo slightly enhancing push that and I'm looking like even the Oreos like then side as well would be that constantly might be that an type that's like suitable for that feeling uh feeling controversy feeling and so like I'm doing that way that so after that, by the time Leo will be completed his like uh, that second hunter's exam of veterinary and by the time Leo will be like achieving that manpower like and like at that point like like Leo will be like an exceptional prophet not only and by the next time looking like Leo and Sorapia would be meeting like after by then like Leo will be not only be would not only would have become like an exceptional prophet but also that Leorio would be having also exceptional manpowers with healing manpowers as well as definitely brain, which like I'm looking like Leorio would be I remember like at that point like once like Leorio would be attaining that healing ultimate healing manpower like I'm looking like at that point. Dioreo without any hesitation at all. Like I'm looking, we are straight away deciding to like go up to that for Africa. By the time that we are finding for Africa, we were already like I thought only expected by then like for Africa, of the population for Africa, what we doing that was blind by then, going blind by then. So like I'm looking that by the time we will be finding for Africa, but like that what Dioreo might have expected like that actually being the case and like for Africa by then, so she that totally blind. Setting on the frame rate. So like I'm looking like yet like I'm looking like for Africa would be only focus like yet like I'm looking for Africa might have learned to like all the youth might have learned to like adapt with blind state and be able to that like swiftly with an independent man to be able to like move around and do all of things and everything, especially with the education. So using her in and about like she might have like even while for Africa would do that to the ending up in that campus. Like even then like for Africa would do that only training on her power to like the point of like being able to like still walk around and do all of her things as if that the blind answers are blindness in front of her as well. It's like the scenario that I'm doing. Yeah, like I'm doing by the time they are able to finding for Africa and finding out that the Africa is like blind. Like at that point, I'm able to bring still that Diorio using that advanced feeling in and powers that Diorio have learned and trained and trained by them like to feel Gorapika's like blindness and that way Gorapika Diorio was done back Gorapika that the gems like using Diorio's then feeling powers which actually into scenario that I'm going to correct. So like at that point I'm going to like Gorapika right and who would have trained to be adapted to blindness like on top of that whole training that once like we are done like Koratiga's like vision like at that point that Koratiga into that would be making Koratiga even more exceptionally strong at that point it's like an able scenario that I'm going to operation another like since I've already been able to remember this is something that we already that into the store that Koratiga that vision like like at that point that anything like that act of that we are doing is only extremely unexpected for like Torabika. The last thing Torabika will be having in her mind is to do for like we always will at one day show and from that Torabika and stuff you know the video. So like I was like for Torabika normally might have learned to like adapt to her mind this but that Torabika's mindset as well she might have been slowly been feeling serpent that basically for till the day she dies that she would be that remaining blind. Would be along the lines that Torabika might have kind of like might have been affect the mindset of like a feeling of acceptance of a trade along the lines of like I might have been in this like or might have been when like this would be like happening but like one day later so now and restoring back for a guest we can do like I'm looking that only that would be such an absolute extreme stop for Borabia and then maybe that even getting for a slightly to something like emotional as well especially my complaint